which is given to be the human circulatory system consists of a complex branching pipe network ranging in diameter from the aorta, the largest, to the capillaries that are the smallest. The average radii and number of these vessels are shown in the table. Does the average blood velocity increase or decrease or remain constant as it travels from the aorta to the capillaries? So we are asked to comment about the average blood velocity, and if you think about it, I am repeating the table given in the book. The vessel, the average radius in millimeters, and the number of such vessels. So we have the aorta, probably I am saying it wrong, but let's go with that, 12.5 meters or millimeters, and there is just one of them. Okay, we don't know the blood flow rate. Let's assume the blood flow rate is let's assume the volume flow rate is Q. It's some number, okay, Q. So if we have to consider the average velocity through the first stage, which is the aorta, that's going to be Q divided by pi by 4 d aorta squared. Okay, that's going to be d aorta squared. Now this is the flow rate through one aorta, and there is only one of them. If there are more of them, then we will need to replace this with Q divided by the number of aorta. Okay, so I will rewrite this Q times 4 divided by pi times 1 divided by n, number of the vessels, times the diameter of the vessel squared. Okay, let's keep this as a relation. Now if you look at the second, those are the arteries. Okay, their millimeter is 2.0. Okay, and there are 159 of them. So if I have to consider the average velocity through the arteries divided by the average velocity through the aorta, that's going to be 4q over pi, 1 divided by number of arteries times the diameter of arteries squared divided by this average velocity, which is 4q over pi, 1 over number of aorta times diameter of the aorta squared. It's the same flow rate. It's like you have one pipe, which is the aorta, whose radius is 12.5 millimeters. Okay, and then this splits into 159 small tubes. This is one tube, this is one tube, this is one tube, and 159 such tubes. So the same flow rate, we have Q going through, the same Q is split into Q1, Q2, Q159, and they all sum up. Q1 plus Q2 plus Q159, they all sum up to Q, the Q that's coming in. So it's the same flow rate that is splitting into multiple tubes. Okay, so I can take this out, and what I have is n aorta divided by n arteries times d artery divided by d aorta squared. I need to compute this, sorry, I think I got this mixed up. D aorta divided by d r3 square. If I want to compare the average velocity between these two, I need to compare their ratio of number and the ratio of diameter or radius. Now what is this ratio? N iota divided nr3, so this number is 159, whereas the top number is 12.5 and 2. So what I have here is 1 divided by 159 divided by 12.5 over 2 squared. 12 squared is approximately 144. I have 159 and then divide by 2. You can do the math, but you are going to find out that the velocity is going to be lesser than, or the ratio of the average velocities is lesser than 1. Remember, if you just consider 1r3, it's a much smaller cross section. It's about 6 times smaller. So the velocity through that would have been higher. But the same flow is splitting into 159 branches. So each branch gets only 1 over 159 of the flow. And in that scenario, the ratio of average velocities through the arteries and aorta is less than 1, which means the velocity through the arteries is less than the velocity through the aorta. Okay? So if I continue the same logic, okay, I'm going to write u x divided by u iota. This is 1. Okay, that is iota divided by iota is 1. Arteries divided by iota is 1 over 159 divided by 12.5 over 2 squared, which you can calculate and fill up. The next is arterioles. Arterioles, they are about 0.03 millimeters in radius, and there are about 14 million of them, 1.4 times 10 power 7. There are 14 million of them. And then there are capillaries. Its diameter is 0.006 millimeters, and then there are 3.9 billion of them. 3.9 billion of them. So I would remember this formula and just repeatedly apply it. Okay. So for the second case, my ratio is going to be 1 over 1.4 billion or 14 million, sorry, 14 million times 12.5 divided by 0.03 squared. Okay, and for the last, my ratio is going to be 1 over 3.9 times 10 power 9 multiplied by 12.5 times 0.006 squared. I didn't worry about units because they are all in millimeters, or if you have data that's in different units, you are well served if you convert them into the same unit before you continue. Okay, so you can work out this ratio. Okay, and each time you can find out what will be the comparison between the velocity, the average velocity in this vessel or this vessel or this vessel compared to the iota. It's not the absolute value, it's a ratio. Okay, it's a ratio. So moving on, we will try problem 5.17 from the book. 5.17 from the book. Alright. 5.17 states a water pump involves a jet cross-sectional area of 0.01 meter per second and a jet velocity of 30 meter per second. The jet is surrounded by entrained water and the entrained streams is 0.05 meter squared. These two fluid streams leave the pump thoroughly mixed with an average velocity of 6 meter per second through a cross-sectional area of 0.05 meter per second squared. Meter squared. Determine the pumping rate, that is the entrained fluid flow rate in liters per second. So if you see figure 5.17, figure P5.17, you have the pump and you have the pump velocity here, or the jet velocity to be 30 meter per second, 0.01 meter squared. And then the remaining entrained water is slower, okay, and that water is of cross-sectional area, the total cross-sectional area, if I call this A1, if I call this A2, this is also A2 symmetry. A1 plus 2A2 is 0.075 meter squared. Okay, and I have A1 given to be 0.01 meter squared, which implies A2 is 0.07 or 0.037 meter squared. Now these two streams, this is stream 1, this is stream 2. Now these two streams thoroughly mix, and when they leave the pump, they leave with an average velocity of 6 meter per second over the entire area. Okay. Determine the pumping rate, that is the entrained fluid flow rate in liters per second. That is, we need to find out what is the flow rate that is going through this region. That is the entrainment. This is the pump jet. Okay. Now, if you apply the mass balance, if you apply steady, if you assume that the pump operates in a steady manner, the first term is 0. Okay. The second term, if you take integral rho v dot n dA equals 0 over the control surface. Let's assume this is our control volume. Let's assume this is our control volume. There is no flow across these two surfaces. Okay, so if you split this integral into 4 parts, you call this surface 1, surface 2, surface 3, surface 4. The integral over surface 2 and the integral over surface 4 is 0. So typically we don't even mention it, it's obvious, there is no flow here. If you take surface 1, if you take this surface, this is the direction of the velocity. We have to draw the outward drawn normal, which is n cap. So v dot n for surface 1 is negative and is equal to the negative of the velocity. Is equal to the negative of the velocity. Okay. This is a pump, so you can consider it to be either circular or two-dimensional or rectangular. In either case, what matters is only the A1 and not whether it's a width or a radius. Okay. So and for surface 3, you have velocity, you have the normal vector. So v dot n for surface 3 is equal to v3. Okay. So I'm going to take this equation 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, 2 and 4 are 0. For 1 I have rho times minus V1 times integral minus V1 dA over surface 1 plus rho times integral V3 dA. Okay, this should be equal to 0. Should be equal to 0. It's an incompressible flow, so I'll assume density is a constant. Density is a constant and not 0, so I'll throw it away. I have this V1, which is 30 meter per second over A1 and an unknown velocity over A2. Okay, so I have minus 30 meter per second times A1 plus an unknown velocity, I'll call it U1. I'll call it U1 here, also here. I have U1 times A2 and then I have to multiply by 2 because I have split them into two areas. So that's the first term plus on the other side I have 6 meter per second times the entire area. I'll call this A3. I'll call this A3. That's 6 meter per second times A3 equals 0. Okay. So I have minus 30 meter per second times A1 plus 2U1 A2. U1 is my unknown variable. If you are confused, I'll call it U0 or U2. Minus 2U2, okay, plus I have 6 meter per second times A3 equals 0. So the only unknown is U2. I'll take it to the other side. U2 equals 6 meter per second times A3, which is A1 plus 2A2, okay, minus 30 meter per second times A1 divided by 2 times A2. Divided by 2 times A2. I can substitute the numbers here. This is 6 meter per second times 0.075 meter squared minus 30 meter per second times 0.01 meter squared. Okay. And I need the final answer in liters per second. Okay. I don't need it in meter per second. I don't need to know the velocity. I need to know the flow rate. So maybe it was wise to just leave this A2 times 2. We'll call this Q entrainment. Q entrainment is 6 times 0.75 minus 30 times 0.1. So how much is that? That's 0.240 meter cube per second minus 0.240 that would be minus 0.6 meter cube per second, which means the fluid actually flows, given that Q2 comes out negative, it means the entrainment actually takes place in the reverse direction. That is, some amount of liquid actually leaves the system corresponding to a negative value of the entrainment flow. Okay, and we need the answer in liters per second. Minus 0.60 meter cube per second. 1 liter is 1000 centimeter cube, which is 1000 times 10 power minus 6 meter cube, or 1 liter is 10 power minus 3 meter cube. So 1 meter cube would be 1000 liters. So minus 0.60 meter cube per second would be minus 600 liters per second. It's unusual for such a problem to have a negative flow rate, simply because in a pump you want to send a main jet and an additional jet and get them well mixed. So unless there is some mistake in the numbers, or that some mistake that I have done, we would expect the entrainment to happen along with the jet, not against the jet. But anyway, the methodology is for you to write this down and start calculating the missing quantities from the continuity equation. Okay. The next problem we want to do is on the topic of momentum balance, where we calculate forces and not just the flow of mass, and that we'll see in the next video.